Welcome back to Two Marks and a Spark right here on Lock 22. Russ, we got a lot to talk about.
Yes.
It seems like maybe we're inching towards, and I'm just going to get right into it. It seems like we're inching towards AEW having at least one television deal, maybe two,
Yes.
as rumors started to come out about AEW Shockwave over on FS1. And of course, that perturbed many on the internet to think, oh, well, Fox dropped WWE for AEW. No, they didn't. It was a money thing.
Yes. Yeah.
They're going to pay significantly less
Sure.
and probably be able to turn a profit because Fox did not turn a profit on the SmackDown deal.
Right. And I don't know if you noticed, but Fox was running college football up against SmackDown over on USA,
Yeah,
which is pretty good counter programming, I would say, overall.
very good counter programming. And well, let's talk about Raw first.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the TV stuff because all this TV stuff is getting shuffled around. NXT is going to the CW. Obviously, we have Raw going. We have more Raw news, by the way.
NXT going to CW.
And then
SmackDown staying on USA,
SmackDown is staying on the USA Network.
but then in January, Raw will be going to Netflix.
Correct. And it sounds like Raw, well, Raw is for sure now getting a runtime change. So Raw is going from 3 down to 2 hours. Thank
Right.
fucking Christ.
That was amazingly under they really underplayed it. They just like casually mentioned it. And apparently from what I read that the wrestlers and the employees they found out about it at the exact same time that we did.
Well, that's how they found out about Raw going to 3 hours too.
Yeah. So anyway, what I've read is that there's speculation that could change when they go to Netflix. They have the freedom to they can go different lengths on different weeks. They don't have to have the exact same time every week.
And it's going to be ad free. They're going to basically be ad free and they're going to be able to go between, I read 2 and 2.5 hours, but they could probably go longer if they wanted to.
Sure.
Um,
Just interesting. It's an interesting time. There's so much television business being done, and it's having a huge effect on wrestling. And we still don't know for sure what all AEW is going to be doing, but
they're staying on Turner for
yeah,
sure because it sounds like Max is going to have the pay-per-views going forward. Yeah, or potentially next year they'll have the pay-per-views, who knows. But let's talk about Raw.
yeah,
First, this show opened up with the Wyatt Six versus American Made. This was very good.
yeah. I was surprised that they opened up with this match. It felt more like a main event.
It really did. The Wyatt Six get the win, which makes sense. They have to keep them strong. Um, and then this was actually a very good match as well. They kind of
Well,
killed
it's
it
the
here.
best bet. I like this one the best of all of the Wyatt Six stuff that we've seen so far. I thought it
And you
was
don't
pretty
even
good.
like the hokey shit.
Right. And and I still think I'm glad to see her getting a chance because I think that Nikki Cross was underrated and underused in the past, and I'm glad she's got an opportunity to get on TV more.
Well, then we had a Finn Balor promo that got almost immediately cut off by Damian Priest. And that set up the match that is now official for Bad Blood, which is that of Priest versus Balor. We knew that was going to happen.
Right, and I'm looking forward to that. That I think that'll be a good match. Those guys are very good workers.
Um, what wasn't that great was the Unholy Union versus Belair and Cargill.
Right, I predicted that the this would go the way it did.
And it wasn't very good.
It was well, at least what, yeah, but at least it wasn't very long, right?
I don't even know if that's like a defense of this match. I actually actively hated this match.
Yeah,
And maybe it's just because of where it was on the show. I don't know. Then we had Bret Hart coming back.
still my favorite wrestler of all time.
And man, does he look old.
Oh yeah, he looks like he's really feeling it. Reportedly, I had read that he was feeling a little bit under the weather, and maybe that showed a little bit. He looked really tired, didn't he?
Yeah, he looked tired. And you know what I thought was interesting? They had Tessitore in the ring for this.
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about Tessitore yet. He's done well.
Yeah, he's done well. It's growing on me. It's a whole new different type of approach.
He has a very different approach to play by play than a Michael Cole. And he's more sports based, but it works for Raw.
Right.
I assume that when they go to Netflix, he'll go to SmackDown and that Michael Cole will move back to Raw.
I think that that is probably the case. Yes.
And that the only reason Cole went to SmackDown now was just because they want him commentating the Bloodline stuff for the next three,
Right.
4 months.
Well, what happened during this interview was interesting too, because Gunther interrupts and really got himself over as a heel with the
Oh my
crowd
God.
here. I mean, he
He
went
was
there,
getting he was
you know.
getting booed
Yeah.
incessantly.
Yes, he was. And Brett called Gunther a dirty yellow coward.
About the only thing Bret Hart didn't say was fuck Bill Goldberg.
That's right. But I thought that they went there. That Gunther said, you're not my favorite wrestler. My favorite is the best wrestler is Bill Goldberg. That got a nice reaction from the crowd.
I wish Bret would have just gone off script and said fuck Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, that's right.
Then we had Dominic Mysterio versus Dragon Lee. This was a schmoz.
Yeah, this was over pretty quick, but it wasn't all right.
It
It
was
looks like, and
fine.
then it looks like they're setting up a match with Io Sky and Kyrie Sane, sorry, against the I don't know what Jade Cargill and Bianca Blair. They don't really have a name, do they?
I call them the one who's over and the other one.
Okay, there you go.
Because Bianca's over and Jade's not.
She's over to a degree, but she's not. She's never going to be. I don't think she's ever going to be a great technical wrestler. I think she's more of an attraction. You know what I mean?
I
And
mean,
not to compare to Andre the Giant or something like that. She's not that much of an attraction, but
any human that's that much taller than their competition and that much just more
yeah.
muscular.
Yeah. Well, she does have a totally unique look, that is for sure. And I think that a lot of her gimmick, and her look, I mean, it got her so far in AEW, but it sounds like she is doing a little more training here, and that from what she says, it's a lot better. So hopefully she will improve.
We did have a long pause in the show, and a lot of people wondered what that was for. They go to commercial, they come back, and because they were in Calgary, I think everybody kind of saw
Right.
this coming with everything that had happened earlier in the day. But the tribute for Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, obviously the hockey players that got tragically killed in New Jersey by a drunk driver.
Yeah.
Johnny played in Calgary for about almost 10 years. So this was necessary that they did this.
Yeah.
And we saw Sami Zayn come out in a Gaudreau jersey earlier in the night as well, or later in the night, excuse me. But
Yep.
um a lot of people wondered why they did this, and the simple answer is it was kind of the unavoidable elephant in the room. The funeral
Right.
was that day.
And
You
that was like a hometown crowd for them too,
right, and now
for those
and they were
guys.
in Calgary. Even if they weren't in Calgary, I think they'd have done it. But that whole bit
Yeah.
they did with Jackie Redmond,
I thought it was pretty classy. I thought it was good. Maybe some wrestling fans might have groused about it, but I liked it.
I didn't understand anybody grouching about it just because, again, it's like they're in fucking Calgary. They have people there that work for that company that used to work for the NHL network.
Right.
Jackie Redmond included, some of their producers included. So, like,
Yeah, because she mentioned that she had interviewed them before.
multiple times. So, and Jackie Redmond was at the NHL network for a long time. So, it like, this was kind of one of those things where it's like you might not like it, but it was also an unavoidable truth of what was going to happen on this
Yeah.
show. This is just something they were going to do on this show. Then we had Lyra Valkyria, Zelina Vega, and a mystery partner that ended up being fucking Natalia.
That's right. Against and I like these wrestlers, but the name Pure Fusion Collective, excuse me, that's got to be one of the stupidest names I have ever heard in my life. It really, and this team, as good as they are, they're not getting over. And I wish they could. I really do. Because
Zoe Stark's over. Zoe Stark's over, but Zoe Stark's fucking been over.
that's it. Yeah. But there's something about this. Maybe the person that named them the Pure Fusion Collective is the same genius that came up with the Viking Experience.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And then we had another excellent promo segment with Drew McIntyre.
Yes.
And
this was exciting and very well done. And it gives us something to really look forward to at Bad Blood.
And he's out there and he's on one of his usual rants. And then he gets in Wade Barrett's face. And I'm thinking, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Because Barrett's not going to wrestle.
I thought he was retired because of injuries.
No, he just doesn't want to.
Okay. All right. But then maybe there's a possibility that he could come back and
do one match, maybe.
Maybe he could be Drew's tag team partner.
Or Drew's opponent, who knows?
Right.
So Drew's I put this about as nicely as possible. Insane tirade.
Yeah.
Because Drew at a certain point just started sounding like a crazy conspiracy theorist. At a certain point, he just really started going down the rabbit hole.
Yep.
And
he's doing a good job with the character. I think this is good stuff.
Pierce comes out and says, what? What are you doing?
He says, now you want to fight your friends.
First you want to fight CM Punk, then you want to fight me, now you want to fight your friend. Who don't you want to fight?
Yeah, that's right. He's a hot-headed Scotsman.
And then he says something to the equivalent of, you want to fight CM Punk, fine, but you're going to do it this way. You're going to wait for Bad Blood, and you're going to do it inside Hell in a Cell.
Right. And what a perfect match for Bad Blood. Well, Bad Blood, I believe, is where we saw the first Hell in the Cell.
Yep.
Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, debut of Kane. I'll never forget watching that live. That was an awesome show. And this is the anniversary of that first Hell. It was October 5th that first year. So I think I'm looking forward to this,
That'd be a great match.
Well, it's probably going to be hyper violent, I would imagine.
One would hope we're going to get blood at Bad Blood.
Well, you would think so.
Then we had Rey Mysterio versus Finn Balor. This was very good.
Yeah.
And Finn gets the win. Rey Mysterio can't buy himself a win right now, it feels like.
He got the win by DQ.
Well, yeah. But it still seems like they just don't want Rey to win anything.
Yeah.
And then we had a phenomenal four-way.
For a four-way match, this was pretty good. All of these guys are good. Didn't you feel pretty confident that Jey Uso was going to be the winner of this? Because he's the guy that's really the most over right now of this group.
I thought it was either going to be Jay or Ilya.
Right.
Maybe Pete Dunne, but I doubted it. I mean, Jey Uso just makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Not too bad.
I thought the show was very good.
And then we end with Braun Breaker confronting Jay face to face. That's his next challenge for the Intercontinental title.
Of which I hope Jay wins, but he probably won't.
Right.
I did not see all of Dynamite, just because I've been working so much this week, but we did get some progression on some stuff, and it also sounds like
Jack Perry beat Leo Rush. Let's see, Ricochet, Sammy Guevara. You just got through the first half of the show, or
not even the full first half, I don't think. Two things I want to point out from this Dynamite show. Most of what I saw was fairly nonsensical and made no damn sense. Uh, but
That's
the
hard to
main
believe that Tony Khan would book a nonsensical show.
isn't it? But the
Yeah.
stuff I saw online was actually better than what I saw when I watched the show because we had this Nigel McGuinness promo that was fucking fantastic.
Yes, it was good. Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
And we also had a John Moxley video package that I thought was great. Him and Darby Allin are going to have a match at Grand Slam. Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson are going to have a match at Grand Slam.
Yes.
Overall, of what I saw of Dynamite, it was relative nonsense.
Yeah, Learning Tree versus the other Savages. But well, and by the way, I think I could be wrong, but if you just look at facial expressions, and I think they're teasing a split. I think Big Bill's going to turn on Chris Jericho,
Thank God.
and I hope he does. You know, it seems to me like they're teasing that because he sometimes certain things Jericho says, you see Bill give him dirty looks, you know, and they always do that for a reason. The
Well,
last match was a mess. We had tag team Casino Gauntlet, and they had at least 8 or 9 teams. I can't even keep track of them all. It was the makeshift team of Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay, which had been put together just earlier in the show by Don Callis. They're going to be facing the young Buckaroos or the Cucamonga Kids or whatever you want to call them.
well, let's talk about what I thought was an awesome show.
Okay, are you talking about Friday Night SmackDown
I am talking about Friday Night SmackDown
on USA?
with those awesome new graphic packages and
Yes,
those fucking and that killer new logo.
I
Loved
liked it.
loved it.
Yeah, because I'm a fan of graphic design. To me, it's an art form. It's not just commercial. And that was really well done. I thought the whole show looked good. This was my favorite show of the week by far.
And it opened with Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes. Cody wins, and
In a steel cage.
the segment we got after this with Roman coming out and him and Cody kind of doing their little thing, but they don't hit each other. There seems to be a truce, at least for now.
Yeah.
And then we had Piper Niven versus Mia Yim. This was nothing.
They don't want Chelsea Green or Piper Niven to ever win. I can see that,
No, they don't.
unfortunately.
And then we had a strange segment. Kevin Owens and a mystery partner against A-Town Down Under.
Right.
Ricky was his partner.
Yes. Apparently his name is Ricky Gibson. I've never heard of him, but from what I read, he's been wrestling in the independents since the early 2000s. He's been
Well,
around a while.
this poor bloke took a stunner.
Oh, he sure did. Yeah. And he kind of got really embarrassed, but I mean, it's a way to get on TV, right?
It gets
Yeah,
you on
I
TV.
mean, I think any wrestler, it's just like how would you like to go on national TV and get beat by one of our superstars that's over? Yeah, definitely. The exposure can't hurt. That was funny though. Oh,
Well,
apparently after the Kevin Owens sent an email to Ricky Gibson and it said basically, thank you, and I'm sorry.
then we get, I don't remember exactly where this was in the show, but we did get a backstage segment with Roman Reigns and Nick Aldis where Roman agreed to a tag match between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa against Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. We'll have more on that in just a second. And then we had, what is this, a best of 5 or a best of 7? I can't even remember.
Best of 7.
The
I
next
think,
match in this best of 7, I think.
no, could it be best of 5? I can't remember for sure.
Well, Andrade ends up beating Carmelo Hayes. These guys have had 5 good matches now.
Yeah.
Both these guys are just really good.
Yes. And I've liked Andrade for quite a while. And Carmelo Hayes not so much, but these matches as he's getting over with me now. It's sometimes when I get over it, I'm starting liking some of these wrestlers. I realized my initial resistance was because I didn't like their stage persona, and then it dawns on me, well, you dummy, you're not supposed to like their stage persona. That's why they're a fucking bad guy. You're supposed to hate them. And then so I'm like, well, I didn't like him, so he was actually doing a very good job, wasn't he? Pretty good match.
But Cody actually turned down the match with Roman. I did forget about that.
Yes, yeah.
I
He
just
said no
remember that.
way at that point. That's right.
And then Roman comes out at the end of the show and he's going to sign the contract. Not only his SmackDown contract to re-sign with SmackDown for presumably 3 months before they go to fucking Netflix and he inevitably goes to Raw.
That's right.
And then Cody comes out.
This was good.
And it seems like, and Solo comes out, and it seems like Cody's not going to sign the deal. And then Cody signs. The match is now official. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns are going to team up at Bad Blood against Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa.
Right.
I presume Paul Heyman will come back at that show. I don't know, though.
That'd be great.
But we will
The
see.
wise man, as they call him.
But one thing I thought they did very well on that SmackDown show was they didn't let Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu touch. They kept them away from each other.
Right.
Because I think they know Jacob Fatu is
right.
The guy there. But
Russ, I'm sorry. I was just going to mention I watched one match on Rampage, which I know I watched one. I read online what it was going to be. I read the spoilers, and I seen that Marty Bell had a match, and I haven't seen Marty Bell for several years. We were talking earlier about Mi Chin. Back when she was Jade, her and Marty Bell were in the dollhouse with Madison Rayne. Remember that?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I like. Of course, she didn't win, but I like to see Marty Bell still working. I think she's a very good wrestler.
Well, let's talk more about this TV stuff because it's all very interesting in its own way.
Yes, it is.
So SmackDown on the USA Network. Seems like that move's going to work. For one way or another, it seems like that move's just going to work out.
Well, if last Friday was any indication, I'd say that, yeah, I think they're on the right track.
But what I don't know is necessarily going to work. And I don't know what they're thinking with this. Is what is their plan for Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes? Is it that it's kind of a Mega Powers 2024?
Oh yeah, think about it. Yeah.
Like these guys are the two biggest names in the company.
Right.
Like
but the Mega Powers eventually have to implode.
Oh, and these will. This may implode quicker than the actual Mega Powers did.
That's right.
I don't think these guys will be winning the tag titles. Let me put it that way.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think they'll last long enough. I'm not sure they'll make it one match. But I find it interesting that Roman Reigns, who has not wrestled since WrestleMania, out of nowhere agreed to a match at what was thought to be a B pay-per-view.
Right. Yeah.
In Atlanta, of all places. Like, the guy lives in freaking California, I'm pretty sure. Why not agree to do, I don't know. He didn't, well, actually, he did work SummerSlam. Technically, he didn't wrestle, but he was there.
Right.
He was not at Bash, but why would he be?
Right.
He's going to be at Bad Blood, presumably, if this match ends up happening, which it will. And then after that, I think they have a Saudi show in what, November?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I assume he's going to work the Saudi show.
Oh yeah. I imagine he definitely would. I might have that written down here. Yeah, they're going to be in Saudi Arabia. Crown Jewel is on November 2nd.
Yeah, and they'll be there, and they're going to do a SmackDown from there too that
That'll be
week.
another one of those days when we start watching wrestling like at 11 in the morning, you know.
Yeah, and I love those days because that means we get our show done before 8 p.m. or before 10, before midnight.
Yeah.
We get our
Oh,
show
that's
done.
right. Definitely, definitely, yeah.
Um,
Oh, we're gonna what's the weekend we set our clocks back to? So we'll not only get our show in, we'll be able to get an extra hour of sleep.
there you go. So, Russ, obviously, I think it's fairly obvious that WWE is clearly changing a lot with their presentation right now.
Correct.
Raw with the new commentary, SmackDown with the new old commentary. It's two people we've heard on SmackDown before,
Also,
but
we go ahead. I didn't mean
but
it.
what I think is interesting right now is this Joe Tessitore thing, because this Tessitore thing kind of got split opinions at first, but I feel like it's mostly positive now.
Hmm.
Just because I think the thing with Tessitore that people are realizing is, oh, this guy actually likes wrestling.
Yeah. And he knows
Like
it pretty well too.
like people are realizing, oh, this guy like actually knows what the fuck he's talking about and isn't.
It's just a little bit different delivery and pacing, than they're used to in professional wrestling. He sounds like an ESPN announcer calling wrestling
That's where he's been for
because
25
that's
fucking years.
exactly what he is, right?
I, like he's a very successful ESPN announcer
Yeah.
who they were able to hire because they have Lee Fitting, who worked at ESPN.
Hmm.
And Joe Tessitore and Lee Fitting are friends. And one thing led to another. And now Joe Tessitore works for the WWE.
Hmm.
Tessitore talked about this, though. This is something he'd wanted to do for a while. ESPN wouldn't let him.
Sure.
And then ESPN changed their mind
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they did.
because, for one reason or another, maybe it was money, maybe it was
Well,
ESPN didn't
I
want
don't
their
know why they didn't
commentators.
want to let him do it. Was it just a contractual thing? Because
Was it
surely
a Vince thing?
ESPN isn't on some kind of high horse about professional wrestling. They've got a few professional wrestling skeletons in their closet too.
Was it a Vince thing that they didn't want their commentators being yelled at by Vince?
Oh yeah, that would suck, wouldn't it?
But Tessitore's wanted to do this forever. I mean, he's talked about wanting to do this going all the way back to like the early to mid 2010s.
Hmm.
Like, and whenever ESPN has done WWE coverage, do you know who's been the one to do it?
Yeah.
Fucking Joe Tessitore.
Right.
So, like, and I think me and you talked back at WrestleMania about that, about
Mhm.
why hasn't WWE just hired Tessitore? And then they did.
Right.
So it made sense. Like, Tessitore isn't some know nothing jabroni who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's not your typical wrestling commentator,
Hmm.
but
Right.
he very much fits what Triple H wants from an announcer. He sounds like a sports guy. That's what Triple H wanted.
Hmm.
He wanted Joe Tessitore. For better or for worse, he wanted Tessitore. And Tessitore wanted to go. And Tessitore still gets to work for ESPN.
Yeah.
And he still gets to do college football stuff occasionally.
Yeah.
I don't think Tessitore is going to do pay per views. He's got no reason to.
Right.
Unless they're going to split the booths at pay per views again, which I don't think they're going to do.
Yeah. They haven't done that in a while.
Now, maybe when they go to Netflix, they do.
That's possible.
So Tessitore is going to be on Raw with Wade Barrett. Corey Graves and Michael Cole are going to do SmackDown. But I think what we learned about this whole experiment when Corey Graves was doing play by play for SmackDown is Corey Graves can't do play by play at all. Never again.
But nevertheless, it seemed like they let him keep trying for quite a while, you know?
Well, you knew it was a stall tactic until Tessitore got there, though,
Yeah.
because we knew Tessitore wasn't starting until September, which felt weird because, wait, if he's still going to do football, why are they waiting till September to have him start?
Oh,
Because Pat McAfee leaves during football season and comes back in January.
sure.
And it seems like that's going to be the regular thing now, by the way, is that McAfee's going to
Yeah.
leave during football,
Yeah.
but he's already said he's going to come back.
Yeah. Well,
So
he really seemed to enjoy his job. He acted like he was really having fun. And that, the audience picks up on that too. Very much so.
well, everybody's acting like he's the first ever seasonal announcer for the WWE. No, he's not.
Uh, I don't think
Jesse
so.
Ventura wasn't full time when he was a commentator towards the end.
Correct. You are correct.
Speaking of Jesse Ventura, sounds like he's coming back
Yeah.
because they're bringing back Saturday night's main event, and it sounds like Jesse Ventura is going to be on the commentary team for that.
I think that would be great.
Now, do I think Jesse Ventura is going to do everything in his power to get fired within doing it twice? Yeah.
Well, he's an outspoken person. Sometimes his mouth gets him into trouble. That's happened before. Uh, one other news story, which I thought we could discuss for a minute,
Yep.
is WWE is going to be reducing the number of house shows by quite a lot
Again,
this year.
again.
Yeah, again this year, and then the year after that. I mean, they're basically cutting the number of house shows at least in half. And on the one hand, that's good for the wrestlers because that gives them less chances to get injured. It gives them more time maybe to be home, but it also is kind of rough for the fans in those smaller markets,
I think they're going to start doing TVs in those smaller markets. I'm not saying they're going to
Now,
do.
some people are speculating that this has something to do that they are somehow responding to AEW, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous. At this point, I don't think anything AEW is doing is really serious competition for the WWE. So I reject
Maybe
the
on
notion.
like a contractual negotiation level with like the
Possibly.
schedule.
Yeah,
But other than that, no.
yeah,
Um, like, hey, you're going to work less dates.
right.
Perhaps maybe the argument. And maybe it's to get some guys that have left to come back. I don't
I
know.
think I think it's this. I think it's business, and it's probably inevitable.
I
Um,
think they're going to start doing TVs in these smaller markets. I
well,
wouldn't be
I
surprised.
really hope so.
I would not be surprised, and I'm going to throw this venue out there. I would not be surprised if we see a Raw at the Fargo Dome in Fargo. That seats 20,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised because Fargo is a place they like to do house shows that with these house shows getting cut back,
Right.
don't be surprised if you see a Raw from a Fargo or a Raw from a Mobile, Alabama, or a Raw from, one of these
Sure.
smaller markets that would normally just be for a house show, but they're not really doing those anymore, so they're gonna do a TV there.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I think it'll be SmackDown that gets those smaller markets. I think Raw will stay in the bigger markets, but I think SmackDown will be the show
I
that
think
goes.
that makes sense.
And maybe that's what they'll use Saturday night's main event for too, is the smaller markets.
Oh, that'd be nice to I've never been to one of those events, but I have been to WWE house shows and TV tapings. They feel very different. The house shows are a little bit more relaxed. They don't feel like they're as tightly, of course, they're not as tightly and as strictly timed and controlled. And some wrestlers claim that they had a little bit more freedom than they might have gotten on a televised show. But I'm sure that just because they're doing less shows doesn't. I don't think they're going to stop coming around to Iowa and to the
They
Midwest.
just did a
Because,
Raw in Des Moines not that long
yeah,
ago.
not that long ago, so obviously they wouldn't be coming back if they weren't making money.
Well, here's the
They've been
thing.
doing WWE TV in Des Moines uh, for decades. I used to go to superstar tapings at the old Veterans Memorial Auditorium, what they used to call the barn. And yeah, so WWE it's always been pretty good, pretty big in Iowa, much more so than their competition.
Well, I think the big thing now is if they're going to cut down on these house shows, they have to go to markets like Fargo because for TV, because if you're cutting back on house shows that much, and their house shows in Fargo have always done really well.
Mhm.
So it's not like they'd lose money doing it. Now, TV, obviously, you have a higher overhead than you would a house show,
Right.
but I don't know. I've always thought they should do a pay per view at the Fargo Dome. It's a big building. They could
And
do a pay per view.
we'll get you to host it.
I don't even live in Fargo anymore, but I'd go up there and do it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Slip 15 grand in my bank account. I'd do it.
Yeah.
Imagine me getting 15 grand for a one time appearance. I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe $15.
15 bucks and a hot dog.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'd be lucky on the hot dog. Uh, well, folks, I think that's going to do it. Go check out on NFL if I could speak proper English.
Yes, NFL is back.
And like, comment, subscribe. You know what to do.
Yes.
And speaking of knowing what to do, Damon, you know what to do next. Damon, play our fucking music. Russ, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.